Check it out, Casper!
Hey everyone, and thanks for tuning in. Casper here, and welcome back to Rebalance, the series where we look at underpowered, overpowered, underused, and overused weapons in Team Fortress 2, and I do my darndest to suggest what can be done to bring these weapons into the world of balance and fairness. Thanks to everyone who voted on the annotation in the last episode. Today is quite an interesting one, because we're looking at my least played class, and also what I imagine is many other people's least played class, and what I suspect is a very rarely equipped weapon outside of Fat Scout gimmicks. But just because we may not regularly play this class or with this weapon, that certainly does not mean that we shouldn't talk about it. Yes, today we're talking about the heavy, and more specifically, the family business. But what are we saying about this weapon? Is it overpowered? Is it underpowered? Well, first, let's take a look at the stats and then we'll decide. So we've got a plus 33% clip size, which takes it from 6 to 8, a plus 15% firing speed, and a minus 15% on the damage. Now this is a shotgun, which means it does different amount of damage at different range, and also a different amount of damage depending on how accurate your shot is, how many of the pellets of a shotgun hit. So that minus 15 isn't just a easy figure for me to tell you like it would be with a sniper rifle, for example. On the surface, it's not immediately obvious whether that is better or worse. So let's break it down using the numbers on the official wiki page and have a deeper look. So for our baseline, we're going to assume that all pellets hit and we're shooting at medium range. That means our 8 shots, including the 15% reduced damage, means 408 damage in a clip. Now using that same baseline, medium range, all pellets hit, with the regular shotgun, we're doing 6 shots and a total of 360 damage. So already our family business is sounding like a good choice. But of course, we also have to take into account the firing speed, which will give us our potential damage per second, i.e. how much damage could these two guns do in roughly the same amount of time. The regular shotgun has got an attack interval of 0.625 seconds, meaning that we'll do 360 damage in roughly 3.75 seconds. The family business, on the other hand, has got a quicker attack interval because it's got that plus 15% firing speed of roughly 0.53 seconds. That means we do our previously mentioned 408 damage in 4.25 seconds, and that's a whole half a second longer, which is quite a lot in these type of games. But here is where things get interesting. Half a second is conveniently close to our attack interval, i.e. how much time it takes per shot. So what happens if we took just 7 shots from our family business instead of all 8? 7 shots from the family business using the same baseline as we have in our other examples will do 364 damage in 3.72 seconds. That result is almost exactly the same as what we would do with the regular shotgun in the same situation over the same amount of time, except we've now got a whole extra shot left in our clip before we have to reload. As both guns have got the same reload speed, bullet spread, damage fall off, etc., I can't help but look at this weapon in any other way than a pretty much direct upgrade to the stock. Of course, shotguns are inherently random in so much as very slight variance in crosshair placement could mean a hefty meat shot or an almost complete miss. Therefore, some may argue that yes, we are doing pretty much the exact same amount of damage in the same amount of time, but that does require 1 extra shot, which means that's 1 extra shot which could have missed on the way there. Of course, this is true, but it's also an extra chance to have landed more pellets, and even if we were to accept this as an absolute negative, let's not forget, we do still have another shot in the clip before we've got to reload. So with that in mind, what is this weapon in relation to this series? Is it underpowered? Overpowered? Well, I would personally consider this weapon underused, although there may be some good reasons for that. We could talk at length about the balance of heavy in general, but let's think about his other tools and the main situations you're going to be using him. Obviously, there's the minigun, which is rapid fire, medium to long range hit scan weapon, which means that the bullets hit as soon as they leave your gun, as opposed to a projectile like the rocket launcher, where they travel through the air before hitting. Heavy is also slow moving, with no real mobility options such as rocket jumping. Therefore, finding a good spot to stay rooted, either next to a payload or defending a capture point, is usually where Heavy excels. Teaming up with a medic also allows him to dive into enemy territory and sponge a lot of damage. The problem here, at least from the perspective of the family business, is that the type of damage it outputs is very similar in terms of its effectiveness to that of the minigun, except the minigun has better range and better clip size. The family business will be slightly more effective at point blank range due to its bullet spread, but between the chances that you already have your minigun spun up and the fact that there are a number of viable melee options, and take into account the Tomislav, which is designed for a fast spin up, the reasons to pull out a shotgun, regardless of how powerful it is compared to the stock, are few and far between. The best scenario I found when using this shotgun was 1. Picking fights in close quarters, 2. Teaming up with a slow deploy primary such as the Brass Beast, and 3. Use the shotgun as if it was a primary weapon whilst you're roaming around, and save the Brass Beast for situations when you know you've got time to set up and you're expecting a wave of enemies to approach. Of course, it's also a must-have choice for the pseudo-class Fat Scout, which is essentially run around as heavy using shotgun only, and it can be surprisingly effective. Of course, the main reason we don't see this weapon used very often is not because it's too weak, it's not because it's too situational, but it's because the sandwich is so fucking good! And that's not to say the sandwich is too good. Given the rest of Heavy's toolset, his rapid-fire hit scan primary, and his range of effective close melee weapons, the idea of having a versatile healing option for both you and your teammates versus having just another hit scan weapon whose role is pretty much covered by your primary and your melee, it does become a bit of a no-brainer, especially considering the very powerful dynamic between the heavy and the medic, with medic able to heal heavy, who is able to heal medic, who is able to heal heavy, who is able to heal a medic. You get my point. Essentially, healing items should not be underestimated in this game. So now the part where we open the floor to the viewers of this video and the community as a whole, where we discuss together what can be done to bring balance to the situation. And honestly, this is a really difficult one. The weapon itself isn't really the problem. The weapon is underused, not so much because of its own flaws, but basically due to the nature of the game. I'm reluctant to say anything should be changed here. Using the amount of people who have got a weapon equipped as a metric in order to determine whether that weapon should be rebalanced or not is a seriously flawed methodology, and it risks rewarding boring and unfun game mechanics while simultaneously punishing those mechanics that have risen to popularity because they result in successful and fulfilling gameplay. So if you feel differently, please share your thoughts with me and all the other commenters of this video. I am but one guy with one point of view and one set of experiences who can only realistically represent myself. We also have to remember that perfect balance on a game as fast-paced and complicated as Team Fortress 2 isn't something that is ever going to exist, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't always be striving to make things better and better. For the next episode, I've already decided to cover the Dead Ringer. As a spy main with over 1,000 hours on that class alone, I feel I've got a lot to say about this infamous weapon already. However, after that episode, it's undecided. So if you've got any suggestions, let me know in the comments on this video of a weapon which is overpowered, underpowered, overused, or underused. Then I'll use the top 3 suggestions in a vote on the Dead Ringer video, just like there was in the episode previous to this one. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you're enjoying this series. It's quite a fun one to make, so it's great to see that there's a good response to it as well. I'll see you all very soon for whatever the next thing is I make. Goodbye.
Someone told me that I'm special. If that ain't fair, I don't